This is lessons 5 and 6 in Mission 5. We're going to keep working on the word that we talked about yesterday. Two fractions that look different. The numbers are different in the numerator and denominator, but they are the same thing. What's that word? Starts with an E. Equal or equivalent. That's what we're going to be working on. So you need the page that looks like this. Has something else going up and down. We're going to start on this side together. All right, I want you to start on the left side, but we're going to start on letter B, and then we'll come back to A because I want to show you something. So we're going to be doing the same thing that you've already been doing with equivalent fractions. We're going to be making equivalent fractions, so we're going to be decomposing them, showing the sum of unit fractions. That means saying the repeated addition. When we did that, like 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6 equals 4/6. Or I can multiply it and write what? Say it out loud. 4 times 1/6 equals 4/6. We're doing the exact same things, okay? We're even drawing them pretty much the same way you did yesterday, except for one little difference. What we have been drawing are called tape diagrams. They just kind of look like a long rectangle. We're going to use the area model. Now, I don't want you to, again, get anywhere you're like confused or frustrated with it. We use the area model in everything. All it's going to do is show you another way to do it until we stop needing the drawings, okay? So just like in multiplication, you don't use the area model really in multiplication, but you still do the same thing. You just don't draw it out anymore. So look at letter B. I want you to see, forget about this right now. I'll show you that in a minute. Right here, you can see there's one shaded in. What's our denominator? How many total do we have? Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And how many are shaded in? 1. So write that fraction, 1/5. Okay? Now the reason we're starting on this one is because I wanted you to see what they had already done up here. They already started it for you, and I didn't want you to get confused. So when we do the area model, we make it like a box, length times width, right? But you don't have to worry about any of that. Instead of drawing it like this, don't draw this. One of them's really large. Instead of drawing it like this and then splitting each of those boxes in half to now have 10, we're doing it like this. It's the exact same thing, okay? So we said this is 1/5. Cut it in half, right down the middle, horizontally. Now, how many boxes do we have? I doubled it. Now I have 10. How many are shaded? 2. So 1/5 equals 2 out of what? 10. 2 tenths. It's the exact same thing you did yesterday, except you're drawing an area model, a box, rather than a tape diagram. All right, so we're going to go through this pretty quickly, and then you'll get a lot of practice with drawing on the back. All right, so what you're going to do on this side, we're still going to write the repeated addition. So 1/5 equals what? We know it equals 2 tenths, but how do we get there? Show me the sum of it, or tell it out loud. 1/10 plus 1/10, okay? Which also equals 2 tenths. And then I want to show you something that they're going to start asking you to do. They're going to say, use the parentheses. Well, that just means right here, 1/10 plus 1/10, I'm putting that together to show, hey, do that together. So let's just say, I don't want you to color in this part because I want you to have a model right here. Okay, let's say that we had colored in 2/5. All right, I'm I'm going to write it down here so you know not to write it. We would say 2/5 equals 1/10 plus 1/10 plus 1/10 plus 1/10 equals 4/10. All right, so when I use the parentheses, I'm going to break them up into smaller pieces. So rather than just put the parentheses around everything I did, I'm going to break it up. Well, there's 2/10 right there and 2/10 right there. I just use parentheses to break that up. That's all the parentheses are for, okay? All right, what multiplication, don't use my second shading, just use what you have. What multiplication sentence would we write for 1/5 equals 2/10? How many 1/10 do you have? 2 of them. So 2 times 1/10 equals what? Equals 2/10. And on this side where we started equals, what do we have to start with? 1/5. All right. So let's try the bottom one. Actually, that's not true. Let's look at the top one. They already started the top one for you. The reason I didn't want you to start with this is because if I would have asked you at the beginning, you would have said, oh, there's 8 there. But we know, pretend that horizontal line isn't there. They really started with 1, 2, 3, 4. So what is our fraction? They give it to you right here. 1/4. And then when they broke it in half, now 1/4 equals 2 shaded spots, 2 out of 8. All right? Sometimes when they give you these, it can get confusing just because you are used to writing it out yourself. So it takes you a minute to really look. What are they saying right there? Okay, so what are they saying? 1/4 equals 1/8 plus 1/8, which equals 2/8. Make sure you have that written in there. And how am I going to do a multiplication sentence? 1/4 equals 2 times 1/8. And what will that equal? 2/8. Okay? Where would you put some parentheses? Do that and then check mine and see. See if that blurry monster went away. Yep, there it goes. All right? Right around the 2 1/8. All right, so let's try letter C. Letter C, you look at it first. What fraction do we have? 1 out of 3. Write that down. This time, instead of just cutting it in half, they want how many rows? 4. So you're going to cut it in half. That's how I would do it. Now I have 2 rows, and then cut each half in half. And now how many rows do you have? You have 4 rows, each with 3 in it. It's almost like an array. I could draw dots there, right? But this is, it's easier to shade if we do the boxes. But it's counting just like arrays. Count by 3s. 3, 6, 9, 12. Okay, so that's our new denominator, right? How many are shaded? 1, 2, 3, 4. Read that equivalent fraction out loud. 1/3 equals 4/12. All right, so what I want you to do is I want you to pause the video really for just like a minute. I bet that it won't even take you that long. And I want you to write this as showing the sum of the unit fractions. We're using those words because that's what you'll see written on here. And in Zearn, what it means is add these up, okay? And then show me the product. That means the product is the answer to a multiplication problem. So write it as an addition sentence and try to put those parentheses in if you can, and then write it as a multiplication sentence and push play and check it. All right, let's check it. 1/3 equals 1/12 plus 1/12 plus 1/12 plus 1/12, which equals 4/12. You may have changed this. You may have said 2/12 plus 2/12, 1/12 plus 2/12 plus 1/12. That's okay. 1/3 equals 4 times 1/12, which equals 4/12. All right, now let's look up over here. All this is doing is adding the parentheses. That's it. That's the only difference between lesson 5 and lesson 6. Do the same thing, but add the parentheses. But what do we do over here? Because we are so amazingly smart. We drew parentheses. We already know it. Okay, so let's see if we can figure out all that they gave us. Sometimes that gives me a headache when I look at it and I think, just let me do it myself. But hopefully that will help you more than it helps me. So pretend the line is not there. How many do they have? 1, 2, 3, and they had 2 shaded. So 2/3 equals, and then they put the line in. Now how many do they have shaded? 1, 2, 3, 4, and how many total? 6. That's our new what? Numerator or denominator? Denominator. 2/3 equals 4/6. So all they're saying is, sometimes we're giving you the numerator, sometimes I'm giving you the denominator. Fill that in. That's all they want. Okay, so look at it right here. What do they have for thirds? They have 2 of them. So 2/3, how'd they break it down? 1/3 plus 1/3. And that equals, look at, they put the parentheses, 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6, which equals 4/6. Very good. Okay, now they took this part. This 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6 equals, they want you to give them some products. 2 times, they have 2 of them. Now, easy would have just been to say 4 times 1/6, but because they broke it up, what is it? 2 times 2/6, and you can tell because it's in the parentheses over here, 1/6 plus 1/6, and 2 times 2/6, which equals 4/6. Okay, and then on the bottom there, 2/3 equals 4 times 1/6, which equals 4/6. All right, that should be fairly simple. The only thing I think that maybe is confusing is, why do we have so many of these? Why do I have to do it so many times? The only reason we're doing it so many times is to get practice, so that when I show you the standard way of figuring out equivalent fractions, your brain's going to do this in your head, and it's going to get you the answer really fast. Okay, so don't get frustrated with having to write all that. The more you do it, the easier it'll be. All right, so look at this one. What do they have? What's our denominator? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many are shaded? 2. So what's our fraction? 2/5. How do I make that into tenths? What do I know about 5 and 10? 5 plus 5 is 10, so I'm going to draw a line there. Now I have 10 blocks or boxes. How many are shaded? 4. That's my new fraction. Very quickly, I want you to pause the video. I want you to write it as an addition sentence with parentheses and as a multiplication problem. You do not have to write it this many times. Just do 2 of them, okay? However you choose. Do that and then push play. All right, I hope you did that quickly. 2/5 equals 1/10 plus 1/10 plus 1/10 plus 1/10. I just broke those up, which equals 4/10. Okay, and if you added them differently, as long as they equal up to 4/10, did you do it right? Yes. All right, and then I just did the easy. 2/5 equals 4/10, equals 4 times 1/10, which equals 4/10. You may have done 2/5 equals 2 times 1/10 plus 2 times 1/10, which equals 4/10. It all is the same. All right. So right now, I want you to pause. If you have any major questions, you're going to ask the teacher that's in the room. Other than that, you're going to push play and look at the back. We're going to talk about it for just a minute, and then you're going to do it totally on your own. All right. So press pause, ask questions, and then push play, and let's look at it. All right. Hope you got all your questions answered. All right, this says, draw area models to show the decompositions. What does that mean? Break them apart. How can I break it down to still get the same answer? Represented by the number sentences below. They're giving you what kind of fractions? equivalent. They're telling you what it equals before you draw it, okay? Represent the decomposition as a sum of unit fractions and as a multiplication sentence. So I want you to circle sum. A sum of unit fractions. That means they want you to show addition, okay? Adding. And as a multiplication sentence. Underline that. So you're sure you need to write it 2 different ways. Now you can draw the area model if you need to, but I don't think you need to. I think you can figure it out that if it says 1/2 equals 3/6, okay, what did they have to add to get to 3/6? 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6. What did they multiply? 3 times 1/6, right? So let's write those down. If you need to draw them, you're going to draw them. The way you're going to do it is you're going to draw whatever, a lot of these are 1/2, but whatever your denominator is, the smaller denominator, you're going to draw longer boxes like this, okay? So I would draw it like this. All right, now I have 2 of them, and I'm going to shade one in. And then I have to think, 2 and 6, what do I know about those? Well, 2, 4, 6. 2 times 3 is 6. Or I could have said the bigger number divided by the smaller one. The denominator, 6 divided by 2 is 3. So I have to break this into 3 rows. Now I can see that 1/2 equals 1, 2, 3, 6. Okay? So if you need that, you're going to draw it on there. Do you have to draw it on there? Nope. You don't. Only if you need to. All right? So if there's one that's getting confusing to you, then draw it on there. So I said this one out loud. Let's just say it out loud real fast so you can write it. 1/2 equals, it equals 3/6. How are you going to write that as an addition problem? I hope you're saying it while I'm writing it. I'm listening. Just kidding, I'm not. 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6 equals 3/6. And how are you going to make that into a multiplication sentence? How many 1/6 do you have? 3. So 1/2 equals 3 times 1/6, which equals your answer, which is 3/6. All right? Let's do one more. Say it out loud which one you want to do. Let's see if you pick the same one I'm going to pick. F. Did you say that one? If you did, it's like a fancy magic trick on America's Got Talent. If you did not, then I don't know magic. So 1/4 equals 3/12. How can I add or make an addition sentence to equal 3/12? I'm always going to start with what they gave me, equals. 1/4 equals 1/12 plus 1/12 plus 1/12. And that equals how many 12s? 3/12. Okay? And then I can always put my parentheses in there. What happens if I don't use the parentheses? Nothing. It just looks a little messier, honestly. Especially if you were doing one, where you had like 6 of them across. If I was doing like 1/2 equals 6/12, 1/12 plus 1/12 plus 1/12 plus 1/12 plus 1/12 plus 1/12. Then I have this big line of them, and it's easier to have parentheses around there to make it look neater. But I can still count them out. That doesn't matter. How am I going to make a multiplication sentence? You say it while I'm writing it. One 1/4 equals 3 times 1/12, which equals 3/12. All right? I think you've got it. I think it's going to be pretty simple. I want you to do those other problems just to make sure you know them. Check it with a partner. And then do Zern lessons 5 and 6. That's the end of the first topic. So try and get through those. and get some practice with that. And then after break, we'll come back and start the next topic and kind of zip through that one the way you're zipping through this one, doing really well. Number 3, I do want you to look at it. What's that very first word that's written there? Explain. That might be one of my new favorite words besides responsibility, right? All right, explain why 1/12 plus 1/12 plus 1/12 is the same as 1/4. You're really going to have to think about it. If I were you, I would draw it out. Remember I said you didn't need to draw on all these unless you needed it? For this one, I would draw it. Think of it like your math journal. Draw it, and then use complete sentences to explain how you know it. All right? Go be awesome.